Hello, welcome to the fourth lesson. This one is called Beliefs. Let's get started. Beliefs are another important part of managing your psychology, of strengthening your psychology, so that you will learn English, or anything in fact, much faster. And there are two kinds of beliefs, two general categories of beliefs: limiting and empowering. Let's talk about limiting beliefs first. Now, limiting means limit is something that stops you. It's like a boundary. It stops you from going ahead. So a limiting belief is a belief that stops you from improving, a belief that stops you from getting better. And I'd say most English students have limiting beliefs. And many English students have very strong limiting beliefs. I call these beliefs English trauma. And I got that name from a few of my Japanese students. They would tell me, "AJ, I can't speak English well because I have English trauma." What is English trauma? What is that? What are they talking about? Well, trauma means some kind of injury, some kind of hurt, emotional hurt, deep emotional hurt. So what they mean is that they had some very negative, painful experiences with English in the past. In other words, when they were in school, in English classes, or even as adults going to other English schools, they had very negative experiences. And all these negative experiences have created some very negative beliefs, some very limiting beliefs. For example, they say, "I'm not good at English." Well, that's a belief. It may be true, it may not be true, but it's an opinion, it's a belief that they have. Another belief, a very common belief: English is difficult. Or English is complicated. Well, that's just a belief. For me, English is very easy because I'm a native speaker. Just like your native language for you is very easy. Tomoe can speak Japanese fluently because she's Japanese. So I might say, Japanese is difficult. And she would say, no, Japanese is super easy. These are just beliefs that come from our experiences. The problem is these limiting beliefs limit us. They, in fact, do limit us. They stop us from getting better. They cause a lot of problems for us as students, as learners. I have them too. As I try to learn Japanese, for example, I have a lot of these limiting beliefs, I realize. I think, oh, Japanese is so difficult. Japanese is complicated. Just look at the writing system. It's so different from English. And these beliefs hurt my motivation. They lower my energy. And in fact, they're wrong. They're not true. Japanese does not have to be difficult. It does not have to be complicated. A small child, even a small American child, could learn Japanese very effortlessly, very easily. And the number one reason is they don't have the limiting beliefs. They can sing songs and play games and enjoy the language, and they'll learn it so quickly, so easily. They'll say, Japanese is easy. Well, it's the same with English, with you. You learned in a very painful, difficult way in the past. And so you created these beliefs in your head. English is difficult. English is boring. English is painful. I'm not good at English. I'll never speak excellent English. These are just beliefs. So how do you eliminate these beliefs? Okay, you have these beliefs, you know they're negative, you know they're not helping you. But we have to figure out, how can we get rid of the limiting beliefs? That's the first step. You have to weaken them. You have to make them weaker and weaker and weaker. You have to cut them down. Well, beliefs get stronger from references. A reference is just an experience or a memory. Sometimes it's just something you imagine, actually. But it's a specific experience or a specific imagination, a specific moment that makes the belief stronger or weaker. So, for example, you have this idea, English is painful and boring. And when you think of this belief, where does it come from? Well, you think of all these past experiences. You think of the time in middle school where your teacher corrected your mistake and you felt terrible. And you think of maybe the bad grades you got on the test, or all the red marks on your English papers. And you start adding more and more and more memories, more of these negative experiences, these negative references. And if you get enough, you will develop a very strong, deep, powerful belief. English is difficult. English is painful. I'm not good at English. So to weaken these, you just have to question the references. You have to question the experiences. Take the power away from the experiences. And an easy way to do that is just to ask questions about them. For example, let me ask this question. Your past English schools, were they excellent? Were they just fantastic English schools with fantastic, amazing, fun, positive English teachers? Did you have a great time every day? Well, I know for most of you the answer is no. So that's interesting. So if your schools were not excellent, maybe the school was the problem. Maybe it's not you. Maybe your English is not great because you did not go to great schools. And did those schools that you went to, or the books you used, did they use proven methods? Did they use research-based methods? Did they know a lot about the research, about English learning, English teaching? Did they only use the best methods? Or did they just use the textbook that everybody else uses? Well, I know from my experience as a teacher, most schools just use the same textbooks. They don't know why. Maybe the boss tells them we must use this book. But they're not choosing the very, very best methods. They're not choosing the very, very best books. And so maybe the reason you believe English is difficult is because you used difficult methods in the past, or your teachers did. Maybe you think English is boring because in the past you used boring methods, you went to boring schools, you had boring teachers. Maybe English isn't the problem. Maybe it was these past experiences. Maybe it was the way you did it or where you did it. Ask yourself these questions. Think about them in detail. Weaken your limiting beliefs. Challenge your limiting beliefs. Another question. In school, did you learn deeply? For example, did you take one chapter in your book and learn it for a long time so that you totally mastered it, so that you knew it completely 100% and never forgot it? Probably not. Most schools I have seen and the ones I've taught in, it's quite the opposite. The teachers go very, very, very quickly. You learn one chapter in your book, boom, after 1 week, on to the next one and the next one. Each chapter has so many new words, so much new grammar. For example, my experience with Spanish in high school and university. So I took Spanish. I've had a total of maybe 2 years of Spanish. But I forgot it all because we never learned deeply. They just tried to make us learn as many words as possible. A lot of words, a lot of words, a lot of grammar, very, very fast. And then, of course, I forgot everything. How about you? Did you learn deeply in your schools? If not, maybe that was one of the problems. Maybe English feels difficult because you never learned deeply. Maybe English is not the problem. Finally, did you learn with a grammar translation method? Did you study a lot of grammar rules? Did you take a lot of tests? Did you feel good about that? Again, maybe the method was the problem. Maybe the school was the problem, not English. So think about these questions and think about them every day. Think about them a lot, especially this week as you listen to lesson number 4. I want you to think about these questions again and again and again and really be honest about it. And start to destroy these limiting beliefs. Get rid of them. They're wrong. English is not difficult. English is not painful. English is not boring. It's only a belief. It's only a past experience. You can change that now and in the future. So let's do that. Let's talk now about empowering beliefs, the positive side. So to empower, the verb to empower means to make stronger. It means to give power to another person. Or in this case, it means the beliefs give you power. An empowering belief is a belief that makes you feel powerful, that gives you power. That's the kind of beliefs you want, and you need to choose them. You must decide which beliefs will make you stronger. For example, here's an empowering belief. You can replace your old limiting belief, add this one instead. You can say, my brain is a natural language learning machine. Because that's what all of the scientific research shows. Our brain naturally learns languages. It is designed to learn language. It should be easy. It should be effortless. It should feel good. You learned your native language that way. It wasn't difficult, was it? English was easy for me to learn because I did it in a totally natural way. And the more naturally I try to learn Japanese, for example, or Spanish, the easier it feels. So that's a new belief, and you should write it down. Think about it. Write down this idea, this belief. My brain is a natural language learning machine. Think about it every day. Decide to choose that belief. Here's another belief you might decide to choose. English can be fun and effortless. English can be fun and effortless. That's an empowering belief, and it's also true. You can think of a lot of examples for this. Some of these mini stories you're listening to, right? They're fun. They're stupid sometimes. They're crazy sometimes. But they're not serious. English can be fun and effortless. That's an empowering belief you want to choose, and you want to remember it every day. And to make these beliefs stronger, you need experiences. Remember, you need references. You need examples that prove the belief. So I'm going to give you some examples, and you can find more. Go find people who speak English very well. Or maybe even who've learned another language very well. I'll give you one of my favorite examples. Steve Kaufman of The Linguist speaks, I believe, 12 languages now. And what you do, find these people and look at their beliefs. I'll tell you some of his beliefs because he's a friend. I've talked to him a number of times. And Steve believes, for example, that language learning is easy and effortless. That's his belief. He's a native English speaker. He speaks Cantonese. He speaks Mandarin. He speaks Japanese. He speaks Russian. These are all supposedly difficult languages. For him, they're not difficult. They're easy and effortless. It's a very strong belief he has. Another belief he has is that you must learn language naturally, and you must focus on meaning. So in other words, he doesn't focus on the grammar. He's not focusing on boring textbooks. He's reading interesting things that he enjoys. He's listening to interesting things that he enjoys. So, for him, language learning is interesting. What's really interesting for me is that these are the same beliefs that all of my best students have. They all have these same ideas. The best students, the ones who learn the fastest, the ones who have the best test scores, the ones with the best speaking, they all believe these things. They all believe that English is fun, interesting, and effortless. They all believe that language learning is natural. They all believe that they should focus on the meaning, not on the grammar and the little pieces of the language. So if you want to be like these successful people, you need to think like them. You need to have the same beliefs as them. So here's what I want you to do. Here's your homework. This is the last thing, the last part of this lesson. What I want you to do is write down 2, 3, 4 empowering beliefs, beliefs that give you power about English. Maybe, my brain is a natural language learning machine. Maybe English can be fun and effortless. Maybe I love English. I don't know. Write down 2, 3, 4 empowering beliefs about English. And every day, you're going to do an incantation. That's a good word. It's a new word. Incantation. An incantation is a phrase or sentence that you say again and again. It has almost a magic idea. It comes from magic. An incantation is a magical sentence. It's a sentence. If you say the sentence, something will happen. That's where it comes from. But for us, an incantation is just a belief you're going to repeat again and again and again every day. So here's what you're going to do. For example, English can be fun and effortless. You're going to say that out loud every day while you're walking along and, you're doing your posture and you're breathing and you're smiling. Well, you're going to add one more thing. As you walk, as you're getting ready for the lesson, you're going to repeat this out loud. You're going to say, English can be fun and effortless. You're going to say it with some emotion, say it with feeling. So you're smiling, you're breathing deep, you're moving your body, you have good posture, and now you're also saying these strong beliefs. English can be fun and effortless. You repeat it again. English can be fun and effortless. And then you say it again. English can be fun and effortless. You can do this in your room and it's fine. You can do it outside and make everyone look at you and think you're crazy. Why not? It's better than feeling powerless, right? It's better than being bored. I promise you'll learn so much faster if you do this. So do these incantations every day, just before you do a lesson. Get your body strong, peak emotional state, and then say these incantations. English can be fun and effortless. English can be fun and effortless. Now your body, your mind, your beliefs, they're all together, very strong. Then you're ready to learn. Okay, that is the end of the main story for beliefs. I will see you in the next lesson. Hello, this is A-J Hoge again. Time for the vocabulary lesson for beliefs. As always, be sure you're standing strong, good posture, big smile, deep breath, move your body. Let's begin. In this lesson, I used a few difficult words. Maybe difficult, maybe not, I don't know. But let's talk about them. Number 1 is the word trauma. Now, trauma, it's a noun. Trauma means an injury or a deep hurt. Now, it can be physical. So, for example, if you break your leg, that is a physical trauma. It's a physical injury. It's a deep physical hurt. Trauma can also mean a deep emotional hurt. So something very painful in your life, you feel very, very sad, for example, or very, very angry. That is also a trauma, a very painful experience, a painful emotional hurt. Trauma. So again, that's trauma. So we have emotional trauma, and we also have physical trauma. So, of course, in this lesson, we're talking about emotional traumas. Hopefully nobody hit you when you're learning your English. So probably it was emotional trauma. You felt a lot of stress, perhaps, when you were learning English in the past. Or maybe just boredom. But for some students, I'd say probably for most students, there are a lot of negative emotional feelings and beliefs about English learning. And altogether, I call these English trauma. English pain, English hurt. And so really what this entire lesson pack, all of this Power English lesson pack is about is healing your English trauma. Okay, another word we talked about in this lesson, incantation. Incantation. Incantation is a phrase or a sentence that you repeat again and again and again. So, for example, every day my English speaking is better and better. Every day my English speaking is better and better. Every day my English speaking is better and better. That's an incantation. You're saying it again and again and again. And it has a little bit of a magical idea that these words are magical. And, actually they kind of are magical because they change your emotion. They change your feelings about English in this case. So saying that again and again every day, saying it with emotion, saying it strongly. Every day, my English speaking is better and better. Every day, my English speaking is better and better. Every day, my English speaking is better and better. That actually is a little bit magical because it changes your feelings. Your feelings about English will improve. You will start to believe this. You will believe your English is getting better. And when you believe it, it will be true. You will be getting better and better. So there is kind of a magical idea about incantations. By repeating these things again and again with power, that you are changing your mind and you're changing the situation, almost like magic. So that's incantation. It's the actual sentence that you say again and again. Another word we use a lot in this lesson is empowering. It can be, the verb is to empower. To empower. So, of course, power is the basic word. Power means strength, right? Power. But to empower means to give power to someone or to cause power to grow in someone. For example, maybe you have a child, small child, and every day you tell the child, "You are so smart. You are so intelligent." You tell them again, "You're intelligent. You're smart. You're intelligent. You're smart." You tell them this again and again and again, every day for years and years and years. You are empowering the child. You're giving them power because they will believe it. After some time, they will believe it. They'll think, "Oh, wow, I'm intelligent. I'm very smart." Right? So you're giving them power. You're making them feel more powerful. You are empowering the child. You're giving power to the child. So to empower is to give power or cause power in someone else. So in this way, these beliefs empower you. The beliefs give power to you. They cause power in you. So we call them empowering beliefs. We add the ing, it becomes an adjective. Empowering beliefs. And the opposite of an empowering belief is a limiting belief. And in the lesson I talked about, limiting means stopping. A limit is something that stops you. It's kind of like a border, a boundary. You can't go past it. So a limiting belief is a belief that stops you. It prevents you from doing something. So in this case, limiting beliefs prevent you, stop you from speaking excellent English. The belief stops you. You could speak excellent English, but you have these negative beliefs, you have these limiting beliefs, and so you are stopped, you're prevented. You cannot do it. So it's limiting beliefs. Our next word is complicated. It's a pretty common word, complicated. It's similar to complex. Complex and complicated, very close in meaning, very similar. And they are the opposite of simple. So simple and complicated are opposites. Complicated means not simple. It means there's a lot of little pieces. Right? If something is simple, maybe there's just one piece. It's very easy to understand. But if something is complicated, there are many little pieces to it, part of it. It's difficult to understand all of them. So some people think English is complicated. Oh my God, nouns and verbs in the past progressive and the future tense and the past perfect progressive and all these grammar terms, and oh my God, it's so complicated. And it is complicated if you learn that way. If you try to memorize, if you try to think about all these little grammar rules, then absolutely, yes, it will feel complicated. But luckily, it's not necessary. You don't need to do that. English can feel simple. Finally, we have the word reference. Reference or references. A reference is an example. That can have different meanings in different situations. But here, it means an example, a specific example of something. So you have this belief, English is painful. And then you have references, you have examples that prove it. For example, in middle school, my teacher made me feel stupid. Right? That's the reference. That is the example, the specific reference, the specific example. And then maybe have another reference. I failed my high school English test. So now you have two references. Your middle school teacher made you feel stupid, and you failed your high school test. Two references, two examples of the belief. English is painful. So most beliefs have all these little references, these little examples. You use the references to prove the belief. So if you question the references, you can destroy the belief. So again, a reference is, in this case, a reference is an example, a specific example of something. And references support beliefs. References create beliefs. Okay, that is all. A very short and easy vocabulary lesson for this one. That is all of the vocabulary lesson for beliefs. Listen to it a few times. Read the transcript if necessary. But focus most of your energy on the main speech and on the mini story. Those are the two most important lessons. Those are the ones you need to listen to very often, repeatedly, and learn them deeply. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye-bye. This is A-J Hoge, and this is the mini story for beliefs. Are you feeling good? Good posture? Deep breathing. Big smile. Moving? I hope so. I'm not going to start this story until you are. All right, let's do it. There was a guy. Was there a girl or was there a guy? Oh, a guy. I just said it. There was a guy, and what was his name? Was his name Bill? No. What was his name? Well, come on, what was his name? His name was George. There was a guy, and his name was George. And George, of course, had a problem. What was his problem? Well, in fact, George had two problems. Oh, no. Not just one problem. George had two problems. How many problems did he have? Two. George had two problems. What was his first problem? Well, his first problem was that girls always laughed at him. Ooh, that's not a good problem. Who always laughed at George? Girls, all women. They all laughed at George. How often did girls laugh at George? Well, always. Every time he talked to them. They always laughed at him. What did they always do? They laughed at him. They always laughed at him. They always laughed at George. That's right. Girls always laughed at George. Whew, so that was his first problem. What was his second problem? Well, the second problem was that he loved Angela. And, of course, Angela was a girl. So girls always laughed at George, and George loved Angela. So that was a problem. Who did George love? Angela. He loved Angela. He wanted to impress Angela. Did he want Angela to like him? Yes, he wanted to impress her. He wanted Angela to like him. He wanted Angela to think good things about him. He wanted to impress her. Who wanted to impress Angela? George. George wanted to impress Angela. What did he want to do? Well, he wanted to impress her, make her think good things about him. But of course, girls always laughed at him. Oh no. Big problem for George. In fact, George had dating trauma. What did he have? Dating trauma. Dating what? Trauma. George had dating trauma. Dating pain, dating injury. Why did George have dating trauma? Well, because girls always laughed at him when he asked them for a date. They always laughed at him when? Well, when he asked them for a date. When he asked them for a what? They always laughed at him? For a date. When he asked them for a date, they always laughed at him. So what did he have? Dating trauma. George had dating trauma, dating pain, deep dating pain. Was Angela a girl? Yes, she was. She was a girl. What kind of girl? A gorgeous girl. A beautiful girl. Now, was this good or bad? Of course, it was terrible. Beautiful girls laughed even more at George. Did beautiful girls laugh more or less at George? More. They laughed more. Poor George. Beautiful girls laughed even more at him. With beautiful girls, he had super dating trauma. So George had some very big problems. But one day he decided, I will develop new empowering beliefs. What did he say? Well, he said, I will develop new empowering beliefs. What kind of beliefs was he going to get? Empowering beliefs. He was going to get empowering beliefs. He was going to develop empowering beliefs. Was he going to develop old, empowering beliefs? No, not old. His old beliefs were negative. His old beliefs were limiting. He was going to develop new, empowering beliefs. New empowering what? Beliefs. What was he going to heal with his empowering beliefs? He was going to heal his dating trauma. He was going to heal his dating trauma with new, empowering beliefs. So every day, he said an incantation. Who said an incantation every day? George. George said a new incantation every day. When did he do it? How often? Every day. Every day he said a new incantation. What was the incantation? Do you know? I'll tell you. His incantation was, I'm handsome and I'm cool. Every day, George looked in the mirror and he said, I'm handsome and I'm cool. It was his incantation. He said it all the time. He was eating breakfast. He said, I'm handsome and I'm cool. When he was walking to work, he said, I'm handsome and I'm cool. During lunch, he said, I'm handsome and I'm cool. Going home from work, he said, I'm handsome and I'm cool. Eating dinner, watching TV, all the time, every day, he said the same incantation. I'm handsome and I'm cool. What was his incantation? His incantation was, I'm handsome and I'm cool. He repeated it again and again and again and again. It was an incantation. He started to believe it. So he started to go to the gym. He went to the gym every day. At the gym, he worked out. He lifted weights. He exercised. What did he say when he was exercising? He said his incantation, of course. He said, "I'm handsome and I'm cool." And he exercised. "I'm handsome and I'm cool." And he exercised. "I'm handsome and I'm cool." And he exercised. He got stronger. Then he went to a public speaking class. He learned how to speak to people. And before every speech, what did he say? You know. He said his incantation. He said, "Hi, I'm George, and I'm handsome, and I'm cool." And then he gave his speech. And when he finished, he said, "Thank you. I'm George, and I'm handsome, and I'm cool." He became stronger. His speaking got better and better and better. And one day, amazingly, he was handsome. And one day, amazingly, he was cool. He walked over to Angela's apartment. He knocked on the door. She answered. He said, "Hi, I'm George. I'm handsome and I'm cool, and I want you." Of course, she yelled, "You bet! You're hot! I love you!" What did she say? She said, "You bet." You bet means, of course, definitely, I agree. If you say, "You bet," it means, you're awesome. I agree with you. So she said, "I agree, definitely." She said, "You bet." And she said, "You're hot." She said to George, "You're hot." Hot means sexy. Hot means handsome and sexy. Or for a woman, beautiful and sexy. So she said, "I agree, you're sexy." She said, "You bet, you're hot." George was very happy. And of course, he was handsome and cool. All right, that is the end of the mini story for beliefs. As always, listen to it many times. When you listen, strong posture, big smile, deep breaths, and move. And if you want to, you can be like George. You can say, "I am a great English speaker," in the morning. During lunch, you can say, "I am a great English speaker." At work, you can say, "Hi, how you doing? I'm a great English speaker." When you answer the phone, you can say, "Hello, I'm a great English speaker." When you go home in the train, tell everybody on the train, "Hi, I'm a great English speaker. How are you?" And when you get home, jump around your house. Tell your girlfriend, tell your wife, tell your husband, tell your kids, "I'm a great English speaker." And before you go to bed, look in the mirror and say, "Hi, I'm a great English speaker." You might actually believe it. It might come true. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.